Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Well, I got no horse in the race. Butterfly Pants, Hangman Page versus Phil. All right, that's how I'm going to refer to the guy. Just Phil, childless Phil, bitter, childless man-child Phil. Now, on the August the 17th episode of AEW Dynamite, CM Punk stood in the middle of the ring, challenged Hangman Page to a rematch. Hangman Page did not come out. I, like many others, questioned why he would do that, why they would book a babyface and Hangman Page to not answer a challenge. Then we find out, well, maybe it wasn't booked at all, and one Phil decided to go into business for himself. Now, this has been something that's been floated about online for the last several hours, that CM Punk went into business for himself, as they said, and he decided to take a shot at Hangman Page, and Hangman Page was not in the building. Oh boy. Dave Meltzer, and I believe this is Brian Alvarez, they said, here is a quote from them. I believe it was Alvarez, I think. Well, no, it sounds like more like Meltzer. So it says, Punk just went into business for himself and then moved on, which was bullshit actually, because he called the guy out and it was off script. And so, of course, Hangman's not going to come out. So then Punk calls him a coward. Like, what? Then, a couple of hours later, it's sprung upon the American public that there is some serious heat between CM Punk and various other people backstage. Dave Meltzer would continue as quoted by, No DQ. It says, even if he was aware of it, what would he have done? This is talking about Hangman Page. He charged to the ring past Tony Khan, interrupted a promo he knew he wasn't supposed to be a part of. There was no way Hangman could have won in that situation. There were plenty of people backstage furious at Punk because Hangman is a well-liked guy. They felt bad for him, and they were upset with Punk. Now, of course, Punk has friends as well. His supporters are angry because they believe Hangman was the one who started this. I know it's wrestling. I know that people think everything is a work, or this is like the MJF deal. I've talked to so many people. It's not. This is a real situation. It was called unprofessional by all sides. Now, apparently, this came about because of something Hangman Page said in a promo several months ago, where this was this is from the 18th, but this continues to some of the same story. It says, sources familiar with the situation claimed that CM Punk has often verbally expressed his displeasure, including recently so blatantly that they thought he might end up quitting the company. We haven't been given any indication that he plans on leaving AEW, but one veteran said they have heard of threats being levied. Apparently, CM Punk and Hangman Page didn't see eye to eye on some promo material in which Adam Page alluded to CM Punk and Colt Cabana. So this comes from David Bixenspan. Somebody says, from what David Bixenspan tweets out, for what it's worth, the only Hangman Page promo on CM Punk without Punk in the building was on the May 4th Dynamite, which was not the promo where Hangman made an oblique reference to Punk fucking with Colt Cabana behind the scenes. That promo was Page saying it to his face on the May 25th Go Home show. This is the promo where Hangman Page said he has to save AEW from CM Punk. And then CM Punk kind of innocently put his hands behind his back and said, I don't know what you're so upset about. According to Bixenspan and all the people who are, reading the tea leaves, Hangman Page made a comment about workers' rights and has been slowly but surely trying to get Colt Cabana fired. Now, of course, there was another story that Colt Cabana was on the verge of being released, but was instead moved to Ring of Honor. All right, so this is from early July the 6th, 2022. According to Fightful Select, many on the AEW roster also wondered about Cabana and Punk's contentious relationship. The report said that several talent found out that Cabana's contract with the company was not likely to be renewed, causing concern among many as Cabana is a very popular presence backstage. Numerous talent, quote, went to bat for Cabana, and in the months since then, Cabana wrestled at the AEW produced ROH Supercard of Honor event. Cabana is said to, quote, almost never be at AEW TV, and that the wrestler has not been booked to compete in the AEW ring either. Despite concerns and rumors, Cabana's profile on the AEW roster page remains active. Around mid-April, rumors were that Cabana was re-signed with AEW, but through the company's Ring of Honor promotion. Cabana is a member of AEW's Dark Order faction that recently lost members such as Alan Angels and Stu Grayson. Then they go into the CM Punk, Colt Cabana beef. Originally the best of friends, Colt Cabana and CM Punk's relationship reportedly soured after the two were sued by WWE Dr. Christopher Amann in 2018 over comments that Punk made on Cabana's Art of Wrestling podcast after his release from WWE. The pair won the suit, but a disagreement over legal fees led to Cabana suing Punk later that year. So, apparently this is all over Colt Cabana, who was in Ring of Honor. I think at the time the Elite was there last. I believe Colt Cabana was still there. I was watching a Ring of Honor at the time. I absolutely don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't have a better memory. But Colt Cabana was also one of the guys that, when he signed on, it was because they saw him as sort of the godfather of indie wrestling. So, and this was a love letter to indie wrestling, was the entire concept behind AEW. So apparently, CM Punk is not making friends backstage. This is, again, not an opportunity for me to do a victory lap about how this bitter moron apparently is now trying to screw over the career of Colt Cabana and others. To me, it doesn't seem like this is something that is worth, jumping for joy over. It just seems like it's CM Punk doing what CM Punk does. It's, he whines. Now apparently Eddie Kingston also doesn't like CM Punk. Of course, could all be a work. And, for people who think this is a work, I want to say that, that's usually the first thing we go to when it comes to wrestling is clearly it's a work. It's all just, phony baloney horse shit, made up for public consumption. But I ask you this question. When you see a lot of people who are usually very pro CM Punk coming out tweeting against CM Punk because they like Hangman Page and Colt Cabana and the Young Bucks and all these guys so much, why would they do that? Why would Tony Khan put CM Punk in a position where even some of his most ardent supporters are starting to turn their back on him? Why would you feed that kind of poisonous information out there? Because some of these people are not playing along. You can even say some of them are. Maybe some of these people are playing along and saying, oh, CM Punk, he was really a jerk this whole time. But there's a lot of other people who are not playing along. Their world is being shattered right now. They're like, oh my God, CM Punk is backstage playing politics. Now, I was one of the few channels that was talking about this when it occurred. So I want to get, maybe I want to pat myself on the back too much. But I don't know if you remember, but CM Punk, he blasted Cody online. Do you remember that? So you might not remember this. In 2019, CM Punk, who was still doing some stuff over at Fox, he said this to ESPN about Cody. He says, I got a text from Cody Rhodes. I always think if somebody wants to do business with me, they can come talk to me. Texting offers isn't really a way to do good business, at least. Right? So he blasted Cody for sending him a text message. And so Cody later is discussing about why him and CM Punk did not come to a full understanding. Basically why, CM Punk wasn't coming in. This was in 2020, so a couple of months later. So Cody says, as far as the CM Punk negotiations go, everyone heard the famous, he got a text from us. Yeah, of course there was negotiations. He did ask for a great amount of money, and Punk is worth a great deal of money. But you also have to, and this isn't speaking to Punk specifically, this is speaking to recruitment and what we learned in wrestling in general. A lot of people think, quote, these wrestlers are running this wrestling company. These wrestlers are doing everything they can to run the creative, the brand, and the marketing and the things. But there are some very smart and fiscally conservative people who surround us and flank us because this isn't my money at all. Somebody says, I don't want, Cody continued, I don't want a situation that happened with WCW or Jim Crockett Promotions where we think we're flying so high that we can do anything. No, this is a business and we want to turn a profit. The fact we were able to turn a profit as a company within only 2 years of being alive, very few other companies within wrestling is real limited. You can count on one hand who's been able to do that versus who has bled money. But in that situation, the negotiations, I don't think they ever got too serious. Doesn't mean they won't one day, but they never got entirely serious. I think there's a good relationship there. I think I have a good relationship with Phil. I believe Tony does too. And I'm not sure really when it comes to him, it's not so much about the money. It's about, are you interested in doing this? Because the price tag becomes a lot more justifiable if you're genuinely interested in what we're doing at the high speed we're doing it. And again, that's not even specific to him, just in general. If the passion is not there, the money is not there. So, it seems that Cody was questioning CM Punk's passion. Did CM Punk really want to do this? So, what happened? In August of 2021, CM Punk comes in. In December of 2021, and Cody is out. Cody is out. So, CM Punk comes into the company. Cody, who kind of made a bit of just a sleight of hand gesture at CM Punk. Not much, nothing deep that would really piss anybody off. Well, he's out. Punk probably got that astronomical figure Cody was talking about, and then Cody was like, hey, where's my bucks? And Tony Khan was like, no, we need CM Punk. We don't really need you, but... So Cody is gone. Then we get the whole thing with Colt Cabana and him being good buddies with the Young Bucks. And I don't know I couldn't find any information about, Punk and the Young Bucks and how they get along or anything like that. But it became pretty clear that I think this is important to say. Cody is in a position to negotiate with CM Punk in 2019, 2020, right? He's in a position where he can do that. Then the story came out that Tony Khan was taking all the EVP's power away. He was going to be making all these decisions himself, right? So now the EVPs sort of lose control of creative and they become less important. And that just that aids in why Cody is gone too. So right after Tony Khan kind of takes over the company, even though it's his own company, but he kind of takes power away from the EVPs, he starts spending the cash. Danielson, Cole, Punk, all these guys are coming in. There's more people coming in. And you started to see a shift backstage and a shift on screen for AEW. Now you got MJF complaining about money. He's not being paid. Cody was complaining about money and position. And CM Punk is, he's being treated like the golden goose. Tony Khan is going out in public and defending CM Punk from guys like Eric Bischoff who are going after him. Why would you, if this was a work, why would you feed that beast? The people who, like me, who don't really like CM Punk, why would you feed that beast? If you know all of these narratives are out there, all these narratives exist, why would you feed into it? Why would you turn CM Punk's supporters against him? Why would you do that? I wouldn't do that. If I was Tony Khan, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go out of my way to make CM Punk look bad. Even if I was going to turn him heel, I still wouldn't make him look bad. Because part of why CM Punk is a huge babyface is because people believe the stuff that he's saying. People believe that he really wants to unite wrestling and he cares so much about wrestling and he cares so much about this business and he left wrestling and now he's back to wrestling and all this kind of stuff. But you start seeing the chinks in the armor, you know? And I'm not even saying that CM Punk is wrong for not wanting to work with Colt Cabana. I don't know the intricacies of their relationship, but if you got sued by a guy, you're probably not in the best, probably not liking him very much. And, you know, I can see how that could be a problem. Is there a way for them both to work at the same place and still be professional? Well, here's the thing. CM Punk has not been proven that he can handle things professionally and they stay professional. CM Punk has made almost every professional conflict he's ever had into a personal one. You know, I don't want to do a job. I don't want to do business. He goes onto a podcast and he rails about it. It becomes personal. This is a guy who does this kind of stuff. So Hangman Page made a comment without even mentioning Colt Cabana, but some people believe that he was mentioning Colt Cabana. And CM Punk, who takes everything personally because he's so sensitive, he went out there and decided to embarrass Hangman Page. Made Hangman Page look like an absolute nutless child. And then he went out there and diced up Jon Moxley in a promo, in a work promo. So it was all in good fun. It was all in good fun. But I don't see this as being a work. I'm just looking at all the pieces. That's all I'm doing. You know, am I reading the tea leaves? Maybe. You don't got to take what I'm saying as being, you know, the gospel truth. I'm just looking at things. Funny how we see this story. Like, the story is between the events. That's how storytelling works. Storytelling is events. And then how do we get to that event? Getting to the event of CM Punk coming into AEW. We got the event of CM Punk making it public that AEW contacted him and blasting Cody and saying, "Oh yeah, that's not good business what you did. You don't send me. We don't do business through text messages," which he didn't need to do in public. So now Cody has to try to save face by saying, "Oh, I don't think it was that serious. Me and Phil, we're still good friends. It was just a text message. It was not that big of a deal." Like, you embarrassed the guy, humiliated him, you know, put Cody in his place. Then when he comes in, Cody is gone just a couple of months later. Cody was gone literally 3 or 4 months after CM Punk debuted. That's how suspicious is that? How nobody found that suspicious except me? Colt Cabana was signed to AEW in 2020 during the pandemic, right? And look, AEW, we have been, and when it comes to reading the tea leaves, right? Remember the Ring of Honor stuff when WWE was blamed for, "Oh, you guys didn't let Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens or any of those guys say bye-bye to Ring of Honor. It was only AEW guys. It was only CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and those guys who were saying bye-bye to Ring of Honor." And then you find out later, not only were they not asked, Kevin Owens was never contacted to say goodbye to Ring of Honor because Tony Khan was fucking buying it. Just read the tea leaves. The story is between the events. The event was AEW was going ham on saying goodbye to Ring of Honor. "Oh, we're going to help everybody say goodbye to Ring of Honor," because Tony Khan intended to buy it. That's why he let wrestlers show up on the show. That's why he had wrestlers sending tape to the show, because he knew he was going to buy it. And it made WWE look bad. But when you read the tea leaves, you look at what's going on, you say, "Oh, I understand why WWE didn't get involved." For starters, they were not asked. Second, if they were asked, they probably would have known that Tony Khan was trying to buy the company. Because hell, they probably was trying to buy it too. So, no, I don't think that there is too many coincidences like that. So no, I don't think that this whole CM Punk thing is a work. I don't believe that it's a work. I'm looking at it and saying, if you pay attention, you can see where there might be some legitimate heat. If you look at the tone of voice CM Punk used when he called out Hangman Page, the vitriol that he had in his voice, the heat that between the two of them had, all the stories about how these guys have some serious heat between them, how Hangman Page has been positioned since the feud with CM Punk where he basically got pushed off of a cliff. Hangman Page is not even anywhere near championship contention right now. Hell, to be quite honest, you could probably count on one hand how many matches Hangman Page has had on television since he lost the world title. You could probably count them on your fingers. Nobody else did that happen to. When Moxley lost the world title, he didn't disappear off TV. Kenny Omega did, but because Kenny Omega had a history of injuries, that was the only thing. He was hurt and everybody knew it. Jericho didn't disappear off the face of the earth when he lost the title. Why was it only Hangman Page? That as soon as he lost the belt, he may have had 2 or 3 matches since. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. CM Punk stands in the middle of the ring, yells at MJF that if you want to go, then go. Not too long afterwards, MJF refuses to show up to the fan fest. MJF is complaining about money. MJF is complaining about this and complaining about that. Now MJF ain't been on TV in 3 months. I mean, you could continue to believe that this stuff is a work if you want to. This will have to be a very elaborate work. If this stuff is a work and they can make it make sense, then this is some of the greatest work in years. But I don't believe it. And you shouldn't either. This stuff is real. It ain't all, rainbows and bubbles. Some of it might be exaggerated. Okay? Some of it might be exaggerated. But it ain't all rainbows and bubbles backstage. As long as CM Punk can talk shit about WWE, there's going to be certain people who are going to be very, very happy. Right? Just like when he started saying, you should support, these 2 beautiful black queens. Meanwhile, he had nothing to say when the beautiful black queen, Big Swole, got shitted on by his very boss. While he was on the roster, he said nothing. He didn't stand up for her. And I think some people are just such marks for CM Punk that they are completely and totally ignoring these things that look pretty obvious to anybody who's been paying attention, And yes, this has been the chance for everybody who is a CM Punk hater to do a victory lap and say, oh, he's just doing it again. This is what he does. I'm saying we all knew that this was going to happen. This was not a surprise. This wasn't a surprise to me. I'm not shocked that CM Punk is causing backstage problems. I'm not shocked at all. And no, I don't believe it is a work. Because why would you do this as a work? Why would you do this as a work? Why? See, and here's another thing that could probably tell you, this probably ain't no work. They decided to do Moxley versus Punk on TV. They don't have that many TVs between now and the pay-per-view. They've got, 2 weeks before the pay-per-view? And they're going to give away Moxley versus Punk on television? I don't know, man. But I'm telling you, the story is between the events. When you see oddball events and that don't really make much sense, like Cody being the face of the company and then kind of being replaced as the face of the company, and then he leaves. MJF is this hot young star that AEW found and shined up and gave a platform, and everything is great, and now he's gone. You're like, wait a minute. The highly respected Colt Cabana, who everybody likes, hasn't been on TV in months. Hangman Page gets buried in promos. Hasn't been featured since he lost to CM Punk. I mean, it is what... Look at this stuff, man. It all just sounds too coincidental for me. Too coincidental. So, is there some real heat? I guess so. I would imagine so. If there's not, then there probably will be eventually. And I see, I'm looking at it and saying that everybody was having a ball when the elite were together and they were backstage and the EVPs, but that system was never going to work. It wasn't going to work long term anyway. You know, I never thought Cody would have been the guy to leave, but I knew that EVP system wasn't going to work. And now they seem to have been going to a traditional wrestling system where the top stars call their own shots. And that's not going to work either, because the top stars calling their own shots is going to put them in the Hogan situation where they're going to have creative control. And what are you going to do? You're going to tell CM Punk he's going to do a job for Hangman Page? Ex-CM Punk said, you can be the heart and soul of AEW. I'll be the dollars and cents. I mean, he's not just telling that to Jon Moxley. He's telling that to anybody who wants to complain to him. The reason people watch this show is because of me. The reason people, who sell the most t-shirts, me. The people who sell the most tickets, me. He's telling everybody from Kenny Omega to the Young Bucks to Jon Moxley to Bryan Danielson, everybody, that he is the fucking man in that company. And it became the case the moment he signed on. When he drew 1.1 million viewers for that fucking Rampage, and when Tony Khan went out there publicly to defend him, you saw that CM Punk had all of the political clout that he needs to be able to deal with any situation he finds himself in when it comes to AEW. So no, I don't believe this was a coincidence. Not at all. There that go.